welcome back to Storytime with Miss Mackenzie. Today is a super special day. It's St. Patrick's Day, and I'm wearing a green shirt. I hope you're wearing green today too. We're gonna read a book about leprechauns today because we know that leprechauns visit on St. Patrick's Day. This book is called Leprechaun on the Loose. Uh-oh, I hope that leprechaun doesn't get in too much trouble in this story. And this book is by Marcia Thornton Jones. She wrote the words. And illustrated by Clyde Moore. He drew the pictures. So let's see what this leprechaun gets into. A leprechaun was loose in the classroom, and Sydney was the only one who knew it. Here's Sydney, and he sees these green footprints. They're teeny tiny. So I think a leprechaun must have made them. Everybody else is busy reading their books and coloring. They're at school. Sydney saw teeny tiny green footprints on the floor. He followed them to the table where Miss Yoder had cupcakes for their St. Patrick's Day party. Sydney peeked inside the box. All the green icing had been licked off the cupcakes. You can't eat cupcakes that have all their frosting licked off. Yucky. Sydney set out to find that leprechaun. It was plain bad luck when he stepped on his own shoelace. Oof, swoosh, splat! Sydney fell right on the table. Sydney ruined our party snack, Della Puddington told everyone when Miss Yoder threw away the squished box. I didn't do it, Sydney said. It was the leprechaun. An itty-bitty hee-hee-hee came from behind the fish tank, but Sydney was the only one who heard it. So his friends think that Sydney's the one who ruined the cupcakes, but really it was the leprechaun. See him down here hiding? Naughty leprechaun. During reading time, Sydney noticed something was wrong with the fish. He sneaked to the back of the room and looked into the fish tank. The leprechaun was swimming the backstroke, and the fish definitely were not happy. Look at these fish. They're all looking at the leprechaun. And this one is scared in the castle. Here's Sydney. He sees the leprechaun. I wonder if he can catch him. Sydney dove after the leprechaun. Plop, kerplunk, sploosh. Water soaked the table. Sydney ruined our decorations, Della cried when Miss Yoder threw away the soggy paper shamrocks. I didn't do it, Sydney said. It was the leprechaun. Sydney was sure he heard a teeny little ha-ha-ha as he mopped up the mess. So now look, Sydney splashed the water onto their decorations, and he still didn't catch the leprechaun. And his friends are mad at him. His friends don't know that there's a leprechaun in the classroom. During science class, Sydney heard a creak, creak, creak coming from the hamster's cage. Sydney tiptoed to the cage. He carefully opened the door and came face to face with the leprechaun. While Sydney and the leprechaun stared at each other, the hamster ran out the door and across the table. Sydney dove after the hamster. Boom, bam, crash! Sydney fell against the table, and juice went everywhere just as the hamster scurried out of sight. So here's the leprechaun in the hamster's cage, and there's the hamster running away. And all the juice got spilled. So now they don't have cupcakes, decorations, or juice for their party. Our juice is gone, Della said with a sniffle. So are our decorations and all of our cupcakes. Sydney has ruined our St. Patrick's Day party. Sydney was sure he heard a faint tee-hee-hee coming from behind a stack of reading books. Nobody believed that Sydney didn't do it. There was only one thing for him to do. He had to catch that leprechaun. At recess, Sydney sneaked past his teacher and ran to the art corner. Everything he needed was there. I wonder what he's gonna make. He's going to the art corner. Sydney pounded and snapped and glued. Perfect, he said when he finished his leprechaun trap. Then he hurried into the lunchroom and looked through the lunch trays until he found a stinky tidbit of corned beef. That's what leprechauns like to eat, corned beef. Look at his cool trap. I wonder if he can catch the leprechaun in there. Sydney carefully reached inside his leprechaun trap with the bait. Then his foot knocked the back of the trap. Swing, clang, zing! Sydney was caught inside. He heard the tippy-tippy tap of little itty-bitty boots. I do believe I've caught me a boy. That I have, said the leprechaun with a grin. Let me out, Sydney begged. The tiny man scratched under his tall green hat. Now, why would I be wanting to do such a thing as that? Look who's in the cage. Sydney is. And the leprechaun's outside. I wonder if the leprechaun will let him out. Sydney thought fast. Come closer and I'll tell you a secret, he said. Secret? I love secrets, said the leprechaun as he inched forward. That's when Sydney made his move. He reached out and tickled the leprechaun under his chin. Ha ha ha, hee hee hee, ho ho ho, the leprechaun fell down and hit the trap door, and the door flew open. Sydney rolled out and pushed the leprechaun inside. Swing, clang, zing! I've got you now, Sydney yelled. Now I can prove that you ruined the party, not me. So here's the laughing leprechaun, and he kicked the door open, and then Sydney pushed him inside. Now the leprechaun's trapped. Party, said the little man. I'll make you a deal. Let me go, and I'll save the party. Then I'll be gone, and you'll never see me again. How can a leprechaun save our party? Sydney asked. With me treasure, of course. Should he keep the leprechaun and prove he didn't ruin everything? Sydney wondered. Or should he let the leprechaun go home and save the party for all his friends? So here they're talking. And this is what Sydney thinks the party will look like if he lets the leprechaun go and can save his party. This looks like fun. Sydney was running out of time. His class was right outside the door. He had to decide. Quick, tell me where your treasure is, Sydney said. He leaned close and the leprechaun whispered in his ear. Sydney knew a deal was a deal. He opened the trap door and watched the leprechaun climb out. The leprechaun turned one last time, tipped his hat at Sydney, then the teeny tiny man slipped out the window and was gone. Sydney found the treasure right where the leprechaun said it would be. It was just what he needed to save the party. So here's the leprechaun. He's gonna run out the window. And here is all the treasure. Inside the treasure box, there's cupcakes, and these are balloons that haven't been blown up yet, and juice. And of course, there's treasure. Leprechauns love treasure. The class cheered. Even Della Puddington smiled at Sydney. Miss Yoder wasn't mad at him anymore, even if she didn't quite believe where Sydney got the party supplies. Sydney was finally able to forget all of the trouble that Leprechaun had caused. Then, Sydney heard something terrible. Uh-oh. Look how fun this party looks. They're all happy. Sydney saved the day. I wonder what he heard, though. Something terrible. Uh-oh. "Excuse me, lad," said a tiny voice from behind Sydney's box of crayons. "I'm looking for me brother. Have you seen him anywhere?" Look who it is. Another leprechaun. Oh, there's two of them. I hope this one doesn't cause as much trouble as the first one did. And that's the end. I hope you guys have an awesome St. Patrick's Day. Make sure you're wearing green, and I can't wait to read another story to you tomorrow. Bye, friends.